TV, couple. If you ain't sub to us, then you know you in trouble. Couples TV, couple. If you come and watch a video, you better make it up. Couples TV, yeah, you know we the best. Go on, drop a like, yeah, you know the rest. Couples TV, couple. Couple TV, couple.
What's up, fam bam? It's your girl Kay, and today I'm back with another lit story time. So, this story time will pretty much be about the time that I found out I was pregnant with my first kid. Okay. So, I got pregnant with my first kid. I don't know the exact time I got pregnant with my first kid, but I got pregnant when I was obviously in 11th grade. I had my baby when I was a senior in high school. How I found out I was pregnant is I went to school just a normal day or whatever. And when I got to school, I was hurting really, really bad. So I just thought it was my cycle. My cycle, I had my cycle the entire time I was pregnant. I did not have it. Like, I always had it every month. It was regular. It was pretty much me and one of my best friends pretty much had our cycle came at the same time. So either I would start and then she would start, or she would start and I would start, but it was pretty much wrapped together. So I remember my cycle date. I started my cycle the first day of my last cycle before I found out I was pregnant was September 24th or 25th, something like that. But that was the first day of my last cycle. So when I got to school, like I said, I was hurting or whatever. So when I was hurting, I thought it was just my cycle starting or whatever. So I just went to the restroom. So when I got to the restroom, I used the restroom normally, but when I wiped, what I know now is called the mucus plug, but I didn't know what it was. But when I wiped, I just had all this little mucus stuff that looked like just, so when I wiped, that's what it was on the tissue, and it had a little blood. So I showed it to one of my best friends or whatever, and I'm like, yo, I don't know what this is, girl. Like, I don't know what this is. So I called one of my church sisters or whatever, and I'm telling her, like, hey, something's wrong. I'm hurting or whatever. So I don't know how to ride the bus or whatever. So she pretty much told me what bus to get on because I was at school. So I used my friend that rides the bus pass. I got on the bus, and my church sister is the one who guided me to ride the bus to where she was. So I got to her or whatever. Mind y'all, the whole time, like, I wasn't just skinny or small, but I didn't really have a stomach either. And people, kept like asking me and stuff, and I was like, nah, like, no, what you mean? Like, no, whatever. But anyway, so I got to the train station where my church sister was or whatever. And when I got there, she was like, okay, Yana, she called me Yana. She was like, Yana, let me see, your stomach or whatever. And I showed my stomach, but, it wasn't nothing. It was just, nothing. It was hard or whatever, but it just felt regular to me. So when we got to the hospital, it was like the registration part, I want to say, like when you first walk in and they ask you, why you at the emergency room, whatever. So I was explaining to them, like, I am hurting really bad. I'm having really bad stomach pains. And when I wiped, I had like all this mucus stuff coming out. So I told them my first day of my last cycle and all of that. So the lady was like, okay, well, let me check your stomach. So when she checked my stomach, she was like, oh, you have a pregnancy line. And I was like, what? Like, okay, whatever. Like, I don't know what you're talking about or whatever. So afterwards, it was like quiet. And then we was just sitting there waiting them. So maybe like 5 or 10 minutes later, the nurses is out running out to, the emergency room. It was like, LND, labor and delivery for Kiana being it or whatever. And I'm looking still confused because I'm like, what? So the lady comes over there with a wheelchair and she was like, okay, so because you are passing mucus and you know your stomach's pretty hard and you have like the little pregnancy line, we want to get you checked out. And I'm just like, I can walk. She was like, well, at this point, no, ma'am, you need to, like, we have to push you in a wheelchair. So I'm like, it's really not that serious, you know, because I'm like, whatever. So when I get up there, they tell me that I have to change to a gown immediately. At the time, I am 17 years old, or whatever, and it's just me and my church sister. So we there, so we filling out all these paperwork. So I'm so nervous. I put her address on everything, whatever, because I didn't know what was gonna happen. And at the time, I don't know if I had insurance. I'm pretty sure I had insurance or whatever, but I don't know. You know, nobody thinks about that. I wasn't. So after I used the bathroom and I got the little gown on or whatever, I'm literally sitting in the bed and the lady is like, okay, well, I need to put these things on your stomach. And I'm like, okay, whatever, you know. So I've never been around somebody that's pregnant and having a baby. So, of course, everything that they're doing, I don't know anything about. Like, I don't understand anything like that. So we sitting there. So the little noise that I was hearing, which now I know, it was the baby's heartbeat. But I thought it was mine. So I was so nervous and scared or whatever because I know my heart was beating like really, really fast. So the doctor at the time, she comes in and she's like, hey, you know, like, is it okay if I check your cervix? And I'm like, I don't know what that is. Like, no, you cannot check, you know, anything. She was like, well, I really need to check because we can't, we need to make sure that you're not in labor. And I'm like, what? Wait a minute. What you mean in labor? And she was like, you're pregnant. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, you lying. Like, I'm not pregnant. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm so serious. So I started crying. I started shaking. And I'm like, I'm only 17. I'm a baby. Like, I'm going to get in trouble. I was thinking about everything. I was thinking, like, my mom going to put me out. I'm like, it was just a lot. It was, like, a lot going through my head. So I called my church sister and was like, hey, like, this is what's wrong. Like, I don't know what to do. And the lady was like, she needs to check my cervix. And she was like, my church sister was like, you have to let them do that. And I'm like, what is they about to do? So I'm just crying or whatever. So afterwards, I like probably like 10-15 minutes by, I went by, I was crying. The doctor was really, really good in you know, helping me like calm down and stuff like that or whatever. She was just pretty much saying like, you know, it's gonna be okay, you know, we have programs that help like young mothers and all of that or whatever. So I'm like, okay, so I'm calm now. So she goes in, she checks my cervix. She was just like, oh, like, you're due. Like, it feels like, I can't tell you like exact estimate, but it feels like you're like overdue. And I'm like, overdue? Like, no, like, no, ma'am, nope, not me, not I, nope, no, ma'am, I'm not finna have no baby. She's like, you really can have your baby at any moment, like any day. I'm like, no. So I'm like, she was just like, hold on, wait. So after she checked me or whatever and said all of that, I'm like, oh my God, like, how I'm gonna tell my mama, how I'm gonna tell my daddy, like, this, I'm gonna have a baby at any moment. Like, it was just really, really, really weird. So they check me out or whatever. So I obviously have to go back to school. So my church sister made sure I got back to school. Y'all, I swear to God that I went from like, I had like a pudge, but that was just me being, you know, thick or whatever. But I had a little pudge, but it wasn't how it was by the end of the day. So when I got back to school, I had went to my dance coach and told my coach, like, hey, like, I just found out that I'm pregnant or whatever, and like, I'm due at any moment. I need to figure out how I'm gonna tell my mama or whatever. the dude that I was with at the time, the dude who I was with at the time was also, like, I had told him too. So I was trying to figure out how to tell my mama. So while I'm in, so I didn't go to class no more that day or whatever. I just stayed in my dance coach's class for the remainder of the day. So throughout the day, I was just trying to figure out how was I gonna tell my mom, which it didn't take me really long to tell her, whatever. It just was like maybe like an hour or so that went by, because I was trying to really figure out like if she put me like what was gonna happen and things like that or whatever. So afterwards, I finally got in contact with her, because I was calling her and he was calling her. So it was like going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And she answered his call first, but not on purpose. It was like, this is who was calling at the time. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes when I was calling, it was going to voicemail. So she hung up with him and answered my call. So then when she answered, I was like nervous and shaking and things like that or whatever. So I'm like, okay, hey, like, I know you at work, but it's something I really need to tell you. And she was just like, what? And I was like, I'm pregnant, I'm due any day, any minute. I'm sorry, please don't put me out. And she was just like, if you don't shut the F up and calm down, you're gonna stress that baby out. I'm like, just please don't put me out. I'm so sorry. Yada, yada, yada. She was just like, just calm down. And then, you know, I don't know if how y'all feel when y'all mama yell at y'all or whatever, but when she was yelling, like, I was just like, you know, like that or whatever. So long story short, she was upset, but she wasn't as upset as I thought she was gonna be or whatever. But I was nervous, y'all. Nervous. So mind y'all, I've been in this class all day, having nobody see me since I came back from the hospital, and but my coach. So after that or whatever, I obviously have to leave out because, one, I'm not going to practice. Two, I'm not doing none of that. I'm not going nowhere. I know my mama is about to, you know, pick me up, because she already said it, like, I'm on my way to pick you up. So she pretty much comes to, she works her, obviously she works all day, and then she comes to pick me up from school when she get off, which is not normal. My daddy picked me up. My daddy is the one who takes me everywhere, wherever I want to go. My daddy is always the one that would pick me up from school or drive me out to my friend's house and stuff like that. It was always my daddy. It was never my mama or whatever. So when she said, okay, I'm here to pick you up, I was nervous. So I got in the car, whatever. It was fine. So we went to church that night. I had my stomach and stuff covered up and things like that. So, you know, it wouldn't bring so much attention because it's already a surprise. So the next day, I started having pains and contractions, but I had to go back to school. So when I got back to school, I didn't go to school like as in a regular school day. My mama had to pretty much do like all of this at home schooling thing that you do when you like out on maternity leave. Like, I guess it's like maternity leave for school, I guess. I don't know, but my mom ended up having to do all of that, which was on a Thursday. So I found out I was pregnant on that Wednesday. Now it's Thursday. Thursday we walking around trying to figure it out. I got all these people like, oh my gosh, your stomach wasn't like this yesterday. Your stomach haven't been like this all school year. Around this time it's October, so school has been in for 2 months. We started school in August, and now it's October. So I pretty much haven't been, you know, like I haven't. I've been not having no stomach until my stomach was like poking out, like you had no choice but to freaking see it. So we walk around the school and stuff like that, getting my paperwork done. I start hurting. So mom takes me to the hospital, and she takes me to the hospital. They like, okay, well, we need to do a 24-hour pee on you because obviously you just found out you're pregnant, and we want to make sure that nothing's wrong with, you know, anything that's going on with your body, I guess. I don't know. So if you don't know what the 24-hour pee is, y'all, that's pretty much where you gotta keep every time you pee, you gotta pee in this container. And you gotta keep it on ice or keep it in the refrigerator. It's pretty much up to how you wanna do it or whatever. But we kept mine on ice. So every time I had to pee, I had to pee in this container. So Thursday went by. I'm like, oh my God, I feel sick. I done got out the hospital. It's like late at night. I'm like super hungry. Okay, now it's Friday, I'm sorry. So now it's Friday, and it's actually fur time. So I'm like, okay, I know I just found out I'm pregnant, but I'm about to go to the fur or whatever. And my oldest sister, which is my mama's best friend, I call her my sister because, you know, whatever. But my mama best friend or whatever was supposed to come and get me to go get me some clothes, because at this time, y'all, I can't fit nothing. Like, I went from being able to wear whatever I wanted to wear to not being able to wear nothing in my closet. So after that or whatever, while I was waiting on her, I started hurting. So I had told my daddy, because at the time my daddy wasn't at work. He was actually at home. So I'm like, hey, daddy, like, you know, like I'm hurting. So he didn't know what to do. So he was like, okay, well, just go outside and walk the backyard. And, you know, if you start hurting again, you know, just let me know. Maybe you just need to move around. So I'm like, okay, cool. So once I started walking around, my other sister is now like, hey, I'm on my way. I'm about to pull up. So I started trying to walk in the house. When I walk in the house, y'all, them contractions hit me so hard. I just fell to the floor. And I told my daddy, like, I cannot do this. This is hurting me. I'm just ready to go. So my sister came in the house and she was just like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, it's hurting. So she was like, well, why? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's just hurting. It's hurting. She was like, okay, maybe it's contraction. So we sat there. And I'm like, I just want to go to the fair. She was like, baby, you're not going to no fair. At this point, you pretty much, no, you're not going. You pretty much not going. You finna go to the hospital. So my brother-in-law, which is her dude or whatever, her husband, him and my daddy had to pretty much help me to the car. We got there. I hadn't dilated. I dilated to like 2 or something like that. And then, so obviously they had to call my mama. So I called my mom leaving from work, which I know she was really bad because she had pretty much just got to work. So it's like early in the day. It's like maybe 12 o'clock early in the day or whatever. And she didn't get off till 6. So she had already been at work for a little bit of time, but she kind of had just got there. So when my daddy had to go and get her and then bring her all the way back to the hospital or whatever. And my mama had worked like 45 minutes away. So I just kept telling the baby, like, oh, just stay in, because I don't know, you know, I just want my mama here, So finally, my mom got there. Yeah, I didn't have my baby until, no, hold on, let me back up. So finally my mama get there, and I'm thinking like, okay, well, I'm finna have this baby like any moment. No, I did not. So it took so long for me to have this baby. Everybody started placing bets on what time I was going to have the baby. Because, like I said, it's like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. All these times passed by. It was like maybe 5 or 6 hours passed by. So everybody started making bets on what time I was going to have the baby. My mama gets right. Nobody knew what I was having until I had the baby, I want to say. Because I don't recall them telling me that it was, you know, what I was having when I was going through, when I first found out. Or the next day, I don't recall them telling me any of that. So, pretty much we didn't know until I had her. Till I had the baby. So then, when, it's like 6 or 7 o'clock. in the evening. I started dilating, but I had only dilated by that time to like a 7, like a 6 or a 7. And then they was like, okay, well, you know, obviously you can't go home, so we're gonna get you to a room. By the time they moved me to a room, I had dilated again, so it was like an 8. So I'm just sitting there like, they like, this is your first baby, like you're so young. Most of the young moms is like yelling and screaming, and I'm like, I just want this to be over. Like, I just want this to be over. So the doctor comes in, check me again. Like I said, I'm at an 8. After I get to that 8 or whatever, that's when my doctor called. The contractions start getting worse. The contractions start getting worse. So then I'm like, okay, mama, it's hurting so bad. The dude that I was with, I was telling him it was hurting so bad. So the doctor comes again, and it's like 9 o'clock at night. So I've been at the hospital all day waiting at this baby, and this baby ain't start coming till after 9 o'clock. So when the doctor comes in, he's like, okay, it's time to push. It's time to push. So the dude I was with or whatever at the time was at the hospital, and he wanted to be there while I was having a baby. And when we was having a baby or whatever, he pretty much almost passed out. So the doctor had to put him out. So I had my mom and my daddy on the side of me while I was having my first baby. So my first baby came at 9:31 p.m. October the 10th of 2008. So here I am, a 17-year-old mom in high school, and I got a little girl. I don't got nothing. I don't got no diapers, no wipes, no job, no nothing. I don't have anything. So I had a baby. My daddy is the one who actually cut the umbilical cord. And of course, all of my best friends that I have now was there as well. They came out to, you know, because they were surprised. Like, oh my God, you just really had a baby. Like, you know, it was so, yeah. And it's really funny, y'all, because during this whole pregnancy, y'all, I had got x-rays done. I had my knee, I messed my knee up. I jumped off the house. I got hit in the stomach with a flag before. I had a fight while I was pregnant. Like, all these things, and nothing happened to my baby. So I'm blessed and beyond highly favored when it comes to, you know, my kids or whatever. It's not just one, but all of them. But that was the most craziest 2 days ever in my life of having a baby, and finding out. Like, it was really weird. So if y'all like this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up, comment. If you're not already subscribed to the fam, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Don't forget to follow all of our social medias. We have Instagram, we have Twitter, we have Snapchat. So follow us on all of our social media platforms, guys. They'll all be listed in the link below. They'll be all listed below in the description. So until next time, see you guys later. Peace. Bye.
Couple TV, couple. If you ain't sub to us, then you know you in trouble. Couples TV, couple. If you come and watch a video, you better make it up. Couples TV, yeah, you know we the best. Go on, drop a like, yeah, you know the rest. Couples TV, couple. Couple TV, couple. Couple TV, couple. If you ain't sub to us, then you know you in trouble. Couples TV, couple. If you come and watch a video, you better make it up. Couples TV, yeah, you know we the best. Go on, drop a like, yeah, you know the rest. Couples TV, couple. Couple TV, couple.